Hey everyone, welcome back to my garage. A couple days ago I did a review on a new table saw that I purchased. Sold my little Craftsman table saw and bought this one. It is a Delta 36-725. And if you haven't seen the review yet, click this link right here and then come back and watch this one. That's if I can figure out how to set up an embedded link in the video. If I fail to do that, then just go to my channel, Tim Kirby, and you'll find the review. Anyway, in the review I said I had already made a crosscut sled for the saw, and I was going to do a video on how I made my crosscut sled. So let's get started. The first thing I'd like to point out is the front part here is made out of 2x4s. I took a 2x4 with the table saw and made a nice even cut and cut the edges off so it sat nice and flat down on this plywood. And then when I did that, I didn't have a lot of blade clearance height here in the front, so I added another 2x4 up on top here and just kind of formed it over to give me more height for the blade. Also, I put 2 screws here on each end, and then in the middle I put 2 screws right here. I drilled a hole about 1 inch down and used a 2.5 inch screw to go into the plywood, and as you can see, it's nice and sturdy. And my blade guard, which this part right here is, I used 2 dowels in the same holes that I put the screws, so it sits down in here nice and flat and evenly. And also I put it on a hinge that is spring loaded. I just had one laying around in the garage. That way when I'm putting pieces and stuff here and getting things set up to cut, I can just flip this up out of my way, set it up where it belongs, and then set it back down. And then down here I have a piece of bungee cord that just comes up and goes into this little groove right here and holds it down. That way if something does fly up or something goes wrong, horribly wrong, and it hits this doesn't fly up, and it's actually fastened down so it can't come up accidentally on me when I'm sawing. The back part is 2 pieces of plywood glued together. So the back fence is actually 1.5 inches, and I used aluminum angle iron on the outside corner here, as you can see, and I put another piece of aluminum angle iron on the inside of this with a space right here that slides underneath the angle iron here on the fence to give me like a T-track. I can't afford those fancy T-tracks on Rockler, so I've got to kind of improvise and make my own. Actually, I saw this on a video online of somebody else who had made a crosscut sled and used this angle aluminum. And this is pretty cheap at Lowe's. You can pick them up for, I think I paid like $6, $7 or something for it. But it does a good job. It slides back and forth for the stop. Also, I had to use machine screws. This aluminum is so thin you can't really taper the pilot holes. So I used regular pan head screws for it. But then I took my router and routed a groove in the top here so the screw can pass through that without any getting bound up. Also on the back of my stop block I have a little screw here that I made. I took a bolt and used epoxy and glued the bolt in here. And inside here, I don't know if you can see that in this camera or not, let me see if I can get a close up. There's a little pin in there that just slides in and out, okay? And what happens is this goes on here, put the set screw in it, and that pushes that pin up against the aluminum, and when you tighten it down, it holds it in place. You don't have to take, it doesn't take a lot of pressure. Just snug it up a little bit and it's not going to move anywhere. These braces I put on the back for stability. The block here in the back is to protect me from the blade, so when I'm pushing forward like this, the blade doesn't come all the way out and accidentally hit it. So that's what that big block, and it's glued right here. I didn't use any screws because I don't want to get any screws close to that blade. Also, I put these little blind spot mirrors on here because I'm kind of short. When I noticed when I was testing it out that in order to see the blade like this, I got to kind of stand up like that. So I put these little blind spot mirrors on here so I can kind of see my work as I pass through, but they're not big enough. So I think that's what I'm going to do is go down to the bike shop and get me some of those handlebar mirrors and mount me maybe 1 or 2 handlebar mirrors right here. So when I've got the piece in there and I'm watching the blade to see where I'm at in the cut, I can actually see that without having to go like that. So I don't know if it'll work or not. These blind spot mirrors I had in the garage, so I stuck them on there just to see how it would work. And I think it'll work if they were a little bit bigger. I just have a hard time seeing. I still got to kind of reach over like that to look in the mirror. So anyway, also put not a stop block, a clamp, adjustable clamp. You'll probably notice it looks a little familiar, especially if you buy your clamps from Harbor Freight. Yes, that is a Harbor Freight clamp. The only clamp that I've ever had break on me, and it didn't really break, but the spring came out and I couldn't find the spring that holds that little locking lever tight. So I took it apart and decided to use it for my crosscut sled. This slides up and down the rail like that. Also, I can loosen this up and move it back and forth. And I've got a little bit of leeway to move it out or in, just a little bit. I got maybe, let's take the screw out, maybe 3/4 of an inch that I can move it back and forth if I want to. Okay. Then once that's tightened down, you can adjust it here. And also, if you have a real thin piece, you can take this bottom piece and move it down also to adjust your height. The bottom piece is just a block. Take it out here so you can see it. It's just a block of wood, and I put a T-bolt on the end of it. And then the T-bolt just screws into this bolt that I had epoxied into the top block. Now if I can get it restarted. There it goes. The only problem I had is I worked on it for a while and really couldn't figure it out. When I put a piece of block, I put a block of wood or something in there. Let me find something real quick. When I put a block of wood in there, like that, okay, and if I had this up against my rail and I wanted to cut this piece, there's sawdust in there or something. Oh, I see, it's, try that. Those seem to be sitting, I guess maybe that's at an angle. Yeah, that's at an angle, that's why. I was wondering why that wasn't flush with the fence in the back. But anyway, I had a problem when I tightened it down, this whole thing would just push up. It wouldn't really tighten down on the thing. And after a while I thought about it, and I says, well, I need a handle anyway to pull it forward. So once I got this clamp set, and I had the piece of where I want it, all I need to do is hold on to this clamp and push forward like that, and it holds it in place. and it's nice and tight. So as I cut, I can just keep my hand on that handle, and it actually gives me a place to push the sled as it goes through the blade and holds the piece all at the same time. So I figured, why rack my brain trying to figure something else out that works just as good? So that's what I did. The capacity of the inside, I didn't make it as big as the table saw itself. I wanted something that was easier to handle. I don't think I'm going to need anything much bigger than this. If I had to cross cut a big piece like that, I would probably use my circular saw or use the miter saw. But I've got 30 inches wide, and then my cutting capacity is, looks like about 19 and a quarter. So that gives me about 19 inches on the inside, which is more than enough that I think I'll ever use. So, and the blade guard, I had some, the blade, when I put the blade guard on, it was real flimsy because it's just like 1/8 inch plexiglass. And so I wanted to firm it up so it would be nice and sturdy. So I took some plywood, and I cut these plywood strips to fit inside these shelving brackets. I hope you can see that from by the camera angle. And then I took the shelving brackets and screwed the shelving brackets onto the plexiglass. You can drill plexiglass, but you have to be real careful and go real slow. And I used 3 different bits. Made just like a pilot hole first, and then I used another bit that was a little bit bigger, and then the third bit was the hole that I needed for the screws. So as long as you're careful, if you try to, I've learned that if you try to drill through plexiglass too fast, it'll crack. So you just want to take your time, use a slow drill speed, and use several different size blades and work your way up to the hole that you need. But it works good. It slides good. I used hardwood runners on the back, on the bottom for the miter slats, and it's nice and tight, and I think it's going to make me a good sled. And this is going to be a quick short video. If y'all have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop me a line. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I sure could use some more subscribers. And as far as my windmill goes, I've been waiting for 2 weeks to be able to paint it outside. But every time I get time to paint it, it's raining. So this weekend, come rain or shine, if I have to, I've got some of it primed now. I'm just going to paint inside the garage. I really didn't want to because I got my boat and stuff here and I was afraid of getting overspray and stuff on the boat. But boy, I'm telling you, this Texas weather this spring has been really wet, and we have had rain almost every weekend for about the last month. But I've just about convinced myself that if it does rain, that it will get painted this weekend inside the garage. I'll just have to be careful and try and cover the boat up with a canvas or something like that. But hopefully, my next video, I'll have everything painted, and then I'll probably do a video of me putting it together so you can see how it goes together. And then we'll stick it in the front yard and take a final look at it. And then we'll go from there. We'll talk to you next time.